Okay, so this is my presentation on gait analysis. So the first slide that I created was an overview of what gait actually is. So I gave a brief summary, and pretty much it is just the analysis of the systematic study of animal locomotion, more specifically the study of human locomotion. We use our observation skills along with instrumentation that allows us to measure human body movements and how the body moves mechanically and activation of the muscles. This can also be observed in other things such as like weightlifting, like with EKGs, electrocardiograms, but on the muscles. They're usually used for heart function and things like that, but there's many tools that you can use to see how the muscles work in individuals and how people move most optimally and efficiently. So gait analysis is used to assess and treat individuals with conditions affecting their ability to walk. You see toddlers and young age children do not quite understand or don't have the capabilities of walking like people in adulthood, where they move efficiently and most optimally for their bodies and how they have naturally developed. But gait analysis can also be used in sports situations where the biomechanics of how a person runs or walks or moves, they can make that more efficient, and it also allows to identify posture-related movement problems in people with injuries that, may limit their ankle dorsiflexion or the plantar flexion in their feet that, isn't allowing for them to be as optimal as humanly possible. There's a big key in biomechanics with pitching, and this is, the study of how to move as efficiently as possible in space and time to produce the highest velocity out of that thrower possible, which we did a lab with throwing and kind of analyzed how different people move to throw a ball in an overhead arm action. And that was a fun one. Being a pitcher myself, saw some people that looked real good and then some children that looked very bad. Anyway, let's get into the early childhood. So this would be your toddlers, when you first start walking up to the age of two or, up to 3 maybe, but 3 you start to have gait patterns that are more like adults. But they start with a broad-based gait for support. They appear to be high-stepped and flat-footed with arms outstretched for balance. The legs are externally rotated with a degree of bowing. So heel strike develops around 15 to 18 months with a reciprocal arm swing. Running and change of direction occur after the age of 2, but this is often accompanied by frequent falls, of course, until the child acquires balance and coordination. The in-school age child, their step length increases and step frequency, how often they take steps. This child may be 4 to 5 years old, which we get into more into the childhood phase and adolescence rather than early childhood and the toddler phase. So there's lots of differences there. So into childhood. So like I said before, a mature gait pattern is well established by about 3 years of age. So the gait of a 7-year-old child resembles that of an adult. The normal gait cycle involves heel strike, stance, and then toe off. This would be, you're going into the knee flexion to create the next step. And you're creating ankle dorsiflexion as you hit into the ground with the heel first, and then the lift off with plantar flexion, the toe off. So the stance phase is the foot in contact with the ground. And then the swing phase, we have an arm swing in sync, where we start to see this more in childhood, but the patterns are not quite fully developed. And, there's lots of examples where you can see that. But yeah, like I said earlier, the running and direction change direction occur after the age of 2. Anyway, so we move forward into more defined gait. This is adult normal gait, fully developed individuals So we just have the complete gait phase. The stance phase makes up 60%, and the swing phase is going to make up 40%. We start with heel strike, the loading response, of course, where you display ankle stability and dorsiflexion that is more advanced than that of a toddler that comes through and will flat foot the ground and lift up at the hip rather than heel strike and then up into a knee flexion. Okay. Mid stance, terminal stance, and then start the pre-swing at the end of that. And then, you got toe off, mid swing, terminal swing, toe off. You're creating the pre-swing to toe off. You're creating the plantar flexion necessary to be able to get the foot off the ground into knee flexion, because your joints and your capabilities are just more advanced and you're able to move in better patterns at this stage. During a normal gait pattern, the knee extends such that the lower leg swings forward with foot flexed and raised upward into ankle dorsiflexion in order to clear the ground. The leg is then extended and the body moves forward, resulting in a heel strike at the foot, followed by an extension of the foot as it goes into plantar flexion as the foot is placed down on the floor. This is followed by the toe-off gait phase, where the heel of the foot starts to raise during the push-off phase of gait. Like I said, adulthood, you are a more advanced human being. You have developed into with no disorders. Of course, this is taking into account that there are no gait disorders or walking disabilities or anything like that. You are at your optimal performance. That is most of your life. So, but then you go into, you get into the age, some people are sooner than others, but you get into the age of 70 or so, where you get into the late adulthood, where disorders become common and not even necessarily, even normal walking changes. So they're common in older adults, the disorders are. And the prevalence of these increases with age. Approximately 30% of community-dwelling adults at age 60 years and older have a gait disorder. So, 60 years seeing 30%, that's not a significant number, but you bump it up to 80%, it's as high as, or 80 years old, it's as high as 80% of people have gait disorders. They're more common in hospitalized older adults and in nursing home populations because these are people that have aged quicker. They're not able to. They have other issues, maybe an underlying problem or something. They're not moving as efficiently as they once were. Rather than someone that is still able to care for themselves, has no underlying issues, no problems, then these people are still retaining their gait better, their adulthood gait better than other people that may be hospitalized or in the nursing home scene. Gait disorders contribute to reduced mobility, fall risk, diminished quality of life, and serious injury. One thing I wanted to talk about with the reduced mobility, it's incredible to see how you can change your mobility, retain mobility, increase and decrease. You don't use it, you lose it. It's one of those things where if you become a sedentary human being because of age, then your mobility, like the way that your hips can move, the internal and external rotation of your hips, certain movement patterns that you make, there may be, when you go into knee flexion, there may be no cartilage there for it to flow freely. The ball and socket joint of the shoulder would not move in a larger range of motion. Like, I'm 20 years old, my ball and socket joints are so lubricated at your peak performance of life. Also working these and, working these every day, it's going to make a big difference. But yeah, these, what happens is when they lose this mobility and they lose the ability to move as well, the movement quality, it just changes their lives completely, which is starts to show with the serious injuries including major fractures and head trauma. It's estimated that approximately 15% of falls in older adults can be attributed to balance or gait disorders, including leg weakness. Weakness and strength is something, deterioration of muscle at a certain age. Lower testosterone levels, you're not able to produce the muscle or retain the muscle as easily. But this is common in older adults. Anyway, that is it. That's all I have for Gait Analysis. These are my sites that I referenced, and a lot of knowledge of my own. If that's a citing of the source, I've done quite a bit of research on this topic. So thank you very much. Thanks for a great class. Bye.